What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, Chef Rambo. We're making birria tacos today. Let's get into it, y'all. You're going to need 2 beef chuck roasts, ancho chili powder. You're going to need some thyme. You're going to need bay leaves, cilantro, onions, garlic, tomato. You're going to need 1 lime. We're also going to be using some amazing seasonings. We're going to be using onion powder, garlic powder, cinnamon. I'm going to be using some minced garlic, black pepper, salt, a little bit of that flavor booster, the accent seasoning. We're going to be using some carrots and 3 different types of chilies. We're going to be using Puya Chiles. We're going to be using Guajillo Chiles. And we're also going to be using Pasilla Chiles, you guys. I've got my corn tortillas and I've got my strainer. Let's go ahead and get started on today's video, y'all. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, you guys, is we're going to go ahead and boil our chilies. So I have my pot on high heat, and we're going to go ahead and get these chilies up in here, y'all. I am using 3 different types of chilies today because they did not have ancho chilies at my local Mexican grocery store. I had to get the Puya Chiles, and I had to get the ancho chili powder, so that way the ancho chilies are still incorporated in my dish. So all I'm doing here, you guys, is removing all of the stems. And I'm going to also be cutting these chilies open so I can remove all of those seeds. I don't know if y'all have ever used dried chilies before. They are extremely hot. If you have sensitive skin, they can almost burn your skin if you don't have gloves on. So make sure, if you guys have sensitive eyes or sensitive skin, if this process is a little difficult, just make sure you guys are wearing gloves. But all I'm doing is just using my hands, y'all. And I'm taking off the stems, and I'm also removing the seeds, because that's where the spice lives, is in the seeds. That's why every time we have a pepper, it's so hot, because the seeds are still on the inside. So if you want to reduce a lot of the heat when you're making something that has peppers in it, just take the seeds out. So that's all I'm doing here, you guys. Nothing fancy. I'm just using my big old knife and my big old hands, and I'm taking them mother seeds out. No, I'm just playing. So I'm just finishing up, you guys. If you guys like to cook with your hands, you don't even have to use a knife. Y'all can just rip open these chilies and just get to making it fall out. But for the video's sake, I wanted to use a knife so I can show you guys how you glide your knife on the chilies to get all of those seeds out. And of course, a couple of the seeds are going to stay in the chili because we can't see and remove all of the seeds. But the point is so we can remove majority of the seeds, because that, like I said, that's where the spice lives. And if you're making this for kids and, you know, adults and elderly people who can't have spicy stuff, you want to make sure that something like this is not something you make for them. If you guys are not liking hot things or foods that have different flavors, you may or may not like this dish. So I just wanted to let you guys know that this is like a very authentic Mexican dish. So our chilies have been boiling for about 35 minutes. And as you see, the water is kind of milky. That's how I know that my chilies are done. We're going to go ahead and work on our seasonings. We've got 2 tablespoons of ancho chili powder. We've got some tablespoon of dried thyme. We have 3 bay leaves. We have a half a tablespoon of ground cinnamon, 1 tablespoon of the accent seasoning, 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon onion powder, 1 tablespoon of black pepper. All we're doing here, guys, is just giving this a stir. And don't be surprised by them bay leaves, because when these bay leaves get up in this sauce, they are going to break down, you guys. So I'm just incorporating all of the seasonings that I just added to make sure everything gets evenly incorporated and mixed in. So that way, when you guys are eating this, every bite is consistent. So we're going to go ahead and start cutting our onions. I am using a half an onion for my consommé sauce. I'm taking also a half of a tomato. You guys can use more tomatoes if you like. You can use more onions. But because I'm doing a smaller thing, I ended up using a half an onion and a half a tomato. So the consommé, when you guys heard me say that, that is what the sauce that you cook the tacos is called. So that is what the consommé is. I don't even know if I'm saying it right, y'all. I'm trying. But I did do a little research before I did this video. So this is the most important item in this dish, garlic. You cannot make birria tacos, consommé, whatever you want to call it, without garlic. Garlic is what really puts this dish to work, okay? So I am using 7 cloves of garlic. If you wanted to use 10, use 10. If you wanted to use 15, use 15. You can't really make this a bad dish with garlic because garlic is so good. But I am using 7 cloves of garlic, you guys, and I'm doing like a rough chop. Okay, so now we can season our meat. Because I've used so many seasonings prior, you guys, I am only using salt and pepper for our beef chuck roast. I'm not doing any other seasonings because I do not want this to be overly seasoned and overly salty. I went ahead and cut up each roast into 5 chunks, and now I'm going to go ahead and put a little oil in my pan, and I'm going to kind of fry them up. I'm not going to really say fry. It's kind of like sear. I'm going to sear these on both sides for 10 minutes. So we're going to do 10 minutes on this side, and then we're going to do 10 minutes on the other side, you guys, just to make sure our meat is kind of prepped for the crock pot, because I don't feel comfortable just putting raw meat in a crock pot. I never have and I never will. So even when I'm cooking something like a pot roast, I always make sure I cook my meat for at least 10 to 15 minutes prior to putting it in the crock pot. So I'm just flipping these over. As you guys can see, they're a little pink. In this cup, you guys, I've got onions, I've got tomatoes, a teaspoon of our seasonings, and I've got some water and the garlic. We are going to blend this mixture up for 20 seconds. After we get it to the consistency we like, we are going to set it aside in a separate container, and we are going to work on our chili sauce. Our chilies have been drained and placed in here with the rest of our seasonings and a half a cup of water. We are also going to let this blend for 20 seconds. We have our crock pot on high heat. We are going to go ahead and place in our beef chuck roast. As you see, they're still red because I did not want these to be completely cooked. I want these to be halfway cooked before they go in the crock pot. So we just wanted to sear them on both sides, make them get a little bit cooked, but not completely. So all we're doing now is putting those inside of our crock pot. Now it's time for the fun part, y'all. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add our sauces. I had to do 2 batches, you guys, because I had a tiny baby blender. If I had a big blender, I would have just mixed the tomatoes, the chilies, the onions, and the garlic, and I would have mixed all that together, but I did not have a big one. So I had to use my small one. So I am going to go ahead and add about 4 to 6 cups of water. I also added 3 beef bouillon cubes. And now I'm just going to go ahead and go in here with 6 baby carrots, you guys. I've seen a whole bunch of recipes that had carrots in it. If y'all don't use carrots in y'all's, wonderful. If you do, wonderful. There's no right or wrong way to make food for you and how you like it. So after 4.5 hours, you guys, that's how your meat should look. It has such a wonderful color. It is literally fork tender. Like it's wonderful. Like it was so good. So after 4 hours, this is how it looks. If you're going to cook it on high heat, you need to cook it for 4 to 6 hours. If you're going to cook it on low heat, you need to cook it for 6 to 8 hours. You just want to make sure that this does not get overcooked, because even in the crock pot, you can still overcook your food. So all I'm doing here, you guys, is removing all my meat. I'm taking the remainder of that consommé and I'm putting it through my little strainer. What I'm trying to remove is any leftover chilies, any leftover meat, any carrots, anything that didn't get properly blended up, even though it did, because I seen it all get blended up. Some of the meat you can put in the sauce, like a couple pieces of the meat as I was straining it fell in the sauce. That's fine, but I'm going to remove everything on the top of that. Now we can start shredding up our beef. I prefer to shred up my beef with my bare hands. You can use a knife. You can use a fork. Honey, you can use whatever you want to use. I find it better that sometimes when I want food to taste better, I just have to get my hands dirty. And I hate to with my pretty nails on. Shout out to Daddy Girl. But sometimes you know, you just got to get your hands dirty in order to get a full feel for it. So I'm just taking my hands, and this meat was scorching hot, y'all. That's what's taking me so long to shred it, okay? It was hot. So if y'all might not want to do this, but all I'm doing here is just shredding that meat up, and trying to get those big chunks of the chuck roast like shredded, because we're going to be using this to make tacos. And if our tacos have big chunks of meat in it, it's just not going to be very appealing, or it's not going to really taste good. So I'm just going through here and shredding up all of that beef because it's so delicious and it looks so beautiful. And we can move on to the next step. Okay, guys, so I'm now chopping up my cilantro. I am going to make an onion and cilantro mix for my tacos. Okay, guys, so the first step you want to do with your corn tortillas is you want to dip them in the consommé sauce. This is going to give your tacos that orange, beautiful color that is a must when you're eating, and when you're eating birria tacos. So you can't make this without dipping your shell in the, you know what I'm saying. So all I'm doing is starting off with 4. Now I'm going to go in here with some mozzarella cheese. You can use any cheese you want. The recipe that I've seen, they use mozzarella cheese. So that's the cheese that I'm using. Plus, I like the effect of how white cheese looks on Mexican tacos. It just makes them pop and stand out. So we're going to go ahead and go in here with this beef mixture, baby. And you do not have to fill your tacos up like me. You can go easy if you want. I'm fat. And we all fat, so we like as much meat as possible. Now we're going to go ahead and go in here with the onion and cilantro mix that I was telling you guys about. Some people like to put onions and cilantro at the end. I like to do it now because I'm getting ready to flip and kind of tuck these tacos. And I want to make sure that, the cilantro and the onions are deep down in there. Because you see how they're kind of falling off. That's fine. I really stuffed them, so that's probably why they're messy, but look how beautiful they look. Y'all, I am so proud of myself. I have never made birria tacos a day in my fucking life. Like, excuse my language, but I was so excited. I was so happy with how they looked at the end. So you take your taco and you dip it in that consommé sauce with onions and cilantro and limes. Tell me that don't look good. And I'm just a regular girl, y'all. I ain't nobody fancy. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching.